All right, we're going through into the it's a win, it's a loss, it's a win, it's a loss. Coming up right now here on Birds 365. I want to thank everybody.
Yeah. What did Jeff put him at? 15-2?
I don't know. Jeff he didn't give me the full it's a win, it's a loss last night, but he gave me some thoughts on the schedule. He had him winning pretty good before the bye week. I think he had him 6-3 before the bye week, or 7-2, maybe. Forget where I think 6-3 he had.
Yeah,
Before
they definitely gotta build some equity up early, I would say.
Yeah.
But there's some tough games. I mean, that stretch, I just down talk Chicago. Not that they're a bad team. I just think the Packers are better. I think the lines are better. They're probably better than the Vikings, but I think. But the Packers probably aren't going to have Micah early, I would think, considering he got hurt so late. So you never know. But I'm picking the Lions to win that division because they finished in last and they got the easy schedule. Just like the Bears took advantage of last year. Easier schedule.
All right. Well, I'm going to do it's a win, it's a loss. Let me make a little column here so that we can follow this properly.
Yeah, make sure you follow because I didn't. You got to do the math.
All right, week 3. All right, week 4. All right, here we go. Week 5. All right, beautiful. Beautiful. All right, John, let's start it up. Week 1, by the way, real quick before we get into it, week 1, I just want to remind everybody that is an awesome hand when it comes to the JAKIB home opener game that we have. So we get 425, perfect, right in the middle of the day, not the night game, not the early game. So perfect for the JAKIB game, the JAKIB tailgate that will go on right before that game. You get a divisional opponent at home on a Sunday in September. I thought it was going to be Monday. I heard some things that it could be, a weekday. So I thought that was a great hand for week 1, especially for all those attending the JAKIB tailgate. I'm looking forward to doing that. All right, so week 1, John, they are Washington at home, and you have them doing what in that game, my friend?
That's a win.
That's a W.
And I'm going to say that for Mike Francesa once, and I'm going back to that like a
normal person.
But Washington, yeah, I mean they're a rebuilding team. They got sucked into the. I don't want to blame. They went too far in 2024. They had the big upset of Detroit because 90 defenders were injured, and they bought into it. And I remember saying before the NFC chat, they're not ready for this game. And sure enough, the Eagles blew them off the field, but they bought into it that they were close. They signed a bunch of veteran players. The quarterback got hurt. They're just not that close. They're not that good. Obviously, Jaden Daniels being healthy will help them until he gets hurt again. But yeah, you got to win that game at home. You got to win that game at home.
I'm with you, Johnny Mac. I got a win there for the Birds. I actually think the Birds win the game, but I actually think it's a decent spot for the Commanders to get the Eagles in week 1 because, like you always say, those early games are, they kind of take on their own personalities. They're a little weird. September, I like what Cilio calls it. He calls it Liars Month because, it's almost like a pseudo preseason nowadays. So I think that's a good thing for the Commanders just from that perspective because I don't think they're as good of a team, and maybe they don't know it yet. They think they're probably going back to the NFC title game. Who knows? So I think it's good from their perspective for that. But overall, I got the Birds winning that one. All right.
Yeah, I've thought that for years. But you want to, if you can, you want to play bad teams late because they've given up, and they all have hope. But so you're right from that standpoint. It's a little bit more difficult, but and the defense has got to it's got to carry the Eagles early. I would say as they figure out things on offense.
All right, fair enough. Good stuff here. All right, week 2, Johnny Mac. They are at Tennessee on the road, a 1 p.m. game in Tennessee. What do you think there?
I think Nashville's a pretty cool city. So for people who want to travel, go to this game because you're going to get a win and you're going to get to see Nashville. So that's, They'll get better because Robert Saleh's there. I think he knows what he's doing, but I'm not a big fan of Cam Ward. Didn't think he was a real number one overall pick. I think you've seen that. Not that he can't be a good quarterback and hopefully he develops, but long way to go in Tennessee.
I agree. And I got a win there as well. So Johnny Mac and Big Z, both at 2-0 to start the year right now. Good stuff for the Eagles. All right, that's a win. That's a win. Week 3, John, at Chicago. It's a Monday night football matchup in the Windy City. I think this was a win or a good spot for the Eagles to get Chicago in September. I even heard Jordan Davis saying on the little video they released, get the Windy City out of the way.
Yeah, by the way, yeah, can I rep the Eagles real quick?
Yeah, you can rep it.
Their schedule release game is so far behind everybody else.
Yeah, it's horrible.
I mean, some of these, the Chargers and the Titans are just on another level. They don't win anything else, so it's their Super Bowl. But they call it the Super Bowl of social media. Come on, Eagles. You got to up your game. You're getting lapped. The Colts did a nice Simpsons thing. The Raiders did a Step Brothers thing with Kirk Cousins and Fernando Mendoza. A lot of creative stuff out there. Eagles got 5 guys talking around the table. Come on.
John of all people wants to see a more entertaining skit from the Philadelphia Eagles. All right, week 3, Chicago. What do you got?
Yeah, I think the Eagles are going to be feeling themselves, and even though I just ripped Chicago, I think the Bears win this game. Good defense, and Caleb will make a couple plays, pull a couple plays out of his ass, as he usually does, and that's going to be the first loss of the season for the Philadelphia Eagles.
All right, I'm going win there. I think Chicago comes back to earth in a big way this year. I think they're going to struggle without their center who retired this year, Drew Dahlman, who really brought that.
Garrett Bradbury.
That's true. But I think that team's going to get beat up by the Philadelphia Eagles. Remember, John, Eagles got revenge on their mind, I think, on that one. Now, maybe that doesn't mean anything, but the Chicago Bears beat the Philadelphia Eagles like they were a rag doll in Philadelphia last year. I think the Eagles are going to remember that.
I think the softness of the Tennessee Titans is going to hurt the Eagles. They're going to think they're a little bit better than they are and get surprised by the Chicago Bears again. But, yeah, you're right. I mean, Jalen Carter probably has nightmares about getting washed down by Darnell Wright, so hopefully they can correct that. But, yeah, I don't like the spot. It's more about the spot for me than anything else.
All right, week 4, John. Rams in Philly, a 1 p.m. I don't know what's up with them putting the Eagles and the Rams.
That is shocking. That is the most shocking thing of this schedule. Literally.
Didn't you do that last year too, John?
I believe so. Yeah, it was.
I don't understand. It's like this is like the matchup of the NFC. They keep putting it at 1. It doesn't make sense to me.
It's weird. Yeah, the Rams are better. The Rams are finally going to beat the Eagles. Even though it's here. They should have beat them last year here.
So you got an L.
Got an L. 2-2.
Very nice. Got an L.
And the sky will be falling, going to London.
All right, come on. The sky's not falling if they're 2-2.
Oh, 2-2? Are you kidding me? The sky is falling.
Yeah, that's right. Jeffrey Lurie was fired, Nick, last time they were 2-2. I forgot about that.
The sky is falling. I'm not talking in the building. I'm talking about.
I don't know. Remember that report that Jeff McClain put out? Nick Sirianni was almost panned at the bye week in 2024. Yeah,
I never got that confirmed. I'm not saying it's not true, but I don't think they were going to fire him. But you never know. But I'm talking more of WIP and blah blah blah. They're going to be. Yeah. The sky's going to be falling. All
right, for the LA Rams. It's a loss. That's going to be my first loss of the year. I know everybody, oh my God, you're going to beat the Rams. Guys, they're not going 17-0. All right, they're not going 17-0 here. I have them losing to the Rams. I think the Rams finally get the better of them, especially after that game last year where the Eagles won on the blocked field goal. And I don't think it's a bad thing. I just think two great teams hashing it out. I think the Rams get the better of them this time around. I got the Eagles 3-1 heading to London, which brings us to week 5, John McMullen. At Jacksonville, which is really in London, not at Jacksonville, but the Eagles are the road team. It's a 9:30 a.m. Eastern time matchup. Johnny Mack, who do you got in week 5 at Jacksonville?
Yeah, a tougher team than I think people realize because they've been bad for so long. But I do think the Eagles bounce back and win. Even though it's a Jacksonville home game and they go there every year, I think Eagles fans will take over Tottenham, so it'll be more of an Eagles home game. And it'll be a good game because, like I said, they're a good team, good defense. Trevor Lawrence got his hair cut. But I think the Eagles find a way to scratch and claw it out and stem some of the panic from 2 consecutive losses.
All right, there you go. So that's a win for Johnny Mack in London for the Eagles. I also have a win there. So John's got him at 3-2 through 5. I got him at 4-1. John, week 6, Carolina comes to town. The Eagles come home from London, and they have a 1 p.m.er on Sunday with the Carolina Panthers. I think I know where you're going with this after your comments on the Panthers earlier.
This is my trap game. This is my trap game. Obviously, the Eagles are the better team. Not a big fan of Carolina. Won the division with, I think, an 8-9 record. But there's upsets all the time in the NFL. And I think it's in their head. You talk about that schedule release thing. They're talking about coming up. I forget, it might have been one of them was talking about coming back from London. I think Saquon was brushing it off, so good for him. But one of them was talking about it. So it's already in some people's heads. I think it's a big upset, and then the panic sets back in. But the good news, the NFC East is coming.
So you have them losing to Carolina?
Yep.
If that happens and they're 3-3 after Carolina, Sean Mannion, buckle your seatbelt, my friend. They'll be coming for your head in the city of brotherly love. All right. I'm taking a win here for the Birds. I don't think the Panthers are beating us. Sorry, John. Can't do it. I just can't do it. All right. I might end up fucking 15.
Gotta pick one upset. Gotta pick one upset.
I know. I have an idea for an upset in that. Let me tell you something. The Eagles fans aren't going to like it, but that's all right. John, week 7, Dallas comes to Philly.